It's Saturday evening, quite late, and Coffin Dodger is still up and out and about. I hope you're all well. Thank you for tuning in last time, and thank you for the comments that I got on YouTube and the likes, and I don't know if there was any shares, but there was a couple of likes and a couple of comments, and I really do appreciate that. I am no good at begging for or even asking for these things. If you don't like it, well, then don't like it. Don't do it because you have to. But it would be nice. And if you could share around, it would be nice too. But then again, what I have to say is relatively unimportant compared to what other people have to say and what is going on currently. Today I'm going to start and finish this little podcast with a hymn or with a song. It is called Faith of Our Fathers, and I simply love it because I think it would be the perfect national anthem, and I think it is a song that everybody should be singing now in the last days before the election. It goes like this. Faith of our fathers, living still in spite of dungeon, fire and sword. Oh, how our hearts beat high with joy whene'er we hear that glorious word. Faith of our fathers, holy faith, we will be true to thee till death. Our fathers, chained in prisons dark, were still in heart and conscience free. How sweet would be their children's fate if they, like them, could die for thee. Faith of our fathers, holy faith, we will be true to thee till death. And it goes on to tell about what our fathers and our mothers, of course, as well, held on to in the time when we were severely oppressed. We were fairly oppressed now, but a lot of us are kind of oppressed in luxury. We are in warm enough houses, at least we have shelter. We don't have the food famine and the conditions that we had then, where our food was rationed. Even the variety of food wasn't available. So now we're oppressed, but our minds are undernourished, really. The bodies were undernourished then, but they were able to fight back, and they were able to win the country back. It took so many years, so many generations, so many centuries. They never gave up, and the reason they didn't give up was that they had a faith. They had a faith that they could hold on to, and I can see that happening now in the run-up to the elections. I see people with faith. I see people with a vision. I see people who are willing to risk things, who are not being politically correct, and they're not, as I call them, tacticians. What will I say now in order to get elected? And when I get elected, well, then I'll go all out for it. But that's not the case. You just don't do that. If you're not able to speak out now what you think and what you want to achieve if you are elected, then you will be in no position to be able to say what you want later on. You'll be in a corner, and you'll still be doing the same old tactics. I won't say it now, but I'll say it later, just to keep your position, just to keep your seat, just to keep appearances up. Anyway, enough said about that. One thing I do need to warn you about is something that has come to my attention. There are people on social media, and especially on Facebook, because that's where I spend a lot of my time, even though we do have other social media platforms like Spreely, which is an acronym for Speak Freely, Spreely it's called. Then we have Trump Book, then we have, of course, BitChute, then we have another one that's called Minds, and they are all really lovely social media platforms as well. We don't really need to stick to Facebook and put up with the insults that we get there a lot of the time. Or not the insults, but the censorship that we are subjected to if we have an opinion or post something that is contrary to what they stand for. So what did come to my attention was that there are several people who have their covers on Facebook saying National Party or Irish Freedom Party or whatever, but they seem to be pretend followers and they are spewing hate and they are saying awful things about different nationalities and about different nations and really hate-filled kind of stuff. Well, I checked back then on this particular one and I saw that they've only recently signed up to Facebook. They don't have that many friends. Not that you need to have that many friends, but when people appear at a certain time and you've never seen them before, not even in a comment or anything like that, then it's a sure sign of that they've come on board with a mission, with an intent to do harm of some sort to the one side or to the other. And I don't like that at all. And if anybody here knows people in the National Party, just to draw their attention to that there are people out there posing as followers and as supporters, but in actual fact they are doing a lot of harm because everybody else will be thinking that this is what the National Party stands for, if you know what I mean. Remember the last time I was talking about numbers, and it was because of the date of the election, and was looking at the number 222, treble 2, and I came up with a couple of theories. And funnily enough then, a couple of days later, I was listening to Franz Springmeier, I think is his name. He's a person who is well able to interpret the signs and symbols of the Illuminati, and I had to laugh when he mentioned the number 322 in relation to Skull and Bones. So of course I had to go and check that out as well, and it says here that the Order 322 of the Brotherhood of Death is an undergraduate senior secret student society at Yale University in New Haven. But it also says here the emblem of the society is a skull and crossbones with the number 322 beneath it. The number is generally taken to refer to the year 322 of the death of the Greek orator Demosthenes, a turning point in the transformation of ancient Athens from democracy to plutocracy. And the definition of plutocracy is a political system where the wealthy govern. When the richest people have all the power in a society and make all of the political decisions, this is an example of a plutocracy. What do you think we have here, a democracy or a plutocracy? So we could well be having another transformation around this time. The numbers would point to it anyway, wouldn't they? And I suppose you can also quote Genesis 3:22, which says, "And the Lord God said, the man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever." So it's really interesting if you get into that mindset of looking at numbers. And I did the same again the other day when I was working, and I have such a mundane little job that all kinds of thoughts can go through my mind without distracting me from my work. They actually help me just to keep going the couple of hours that I'm there. When I read the headlines that there was an earthquake in Turkey, I think it was. So it said that the earthquake occurred at 5:55 p.m. and it had a magnitude of 6.8 on the Richter scale. So that number jumped into my mind because of the 555. So I got to wondering what it was about. For everyone will be familiar with this number because it's in every phone number in American films. I think the reason they chose these 555, well, the reason that was given anyway, was that it wasn't a regular, it never appeared in regular phone numbers, so that if anybody got mad at the protagonist in a film or any of the supporting actors, if they were ringing them under the number that they were available in the film, well, the call wouldn't be put through to somebody's home number. So anyway, I got this 555 and at the 6.8 magnitude. So 6 and 8, 6.8, 6 and 8 are 14, and 1 plus 4 equals 5. So that's another 5. So I did a little bit of searching, and I found that Nostradamus published his first version of Les Prophéties, the prophecies, in 1555 AD. And again, I read that Syria is or was devastated by an earthquake in 555 AD. And the place that was destroyed in the earthquake in 555 is the biblical Laodicea, which is addressed as one of the 7 churches in Revelations. It's criticised for being neither hot nor cold, but lukewarm. What does that mean? Neither hot nor cold, but just lukewarm. And lukewarm is a condition that is to be spit out, basically. It's mentioned in the Bible also that if you're lukewarm, you'll be spit out. It's better to be either hot or cold. So today we ask ourselves, where do we stand? Do we sit on the fence and watch everybody else go about trying to save the world? Or do we not give a damn? We just care about our own belly, and contemplating the navel kind of thing? Or are we one of those who only appear to want to make a difference as long as it doesn't demand too much from us? That'd be lukewarm. And going back to what I was saying there about the politicians, the tacticians, they could well be described as lukewarm as well. A good example is that recently I got this lovely soup and I put it in the microwave to heat it up for dinner. And it was steaming away there, and I thought it was hot, but it was actually lukewarm. And the first spoonful of it that I took, I really did physically have to spit it out. Now, to get back to the last podcast with my 222s and the research I did as to why the elections could be taking place on that particular date and what significance it might have in the spiritual world. I don't think people are always aware of why they choose certain dates or times or even why they're born on a certain day, but it does seem to have some kind of spiritual significance. So I had associated the date with a festival in India. Of course, most people know that we have an Indian or a half Indian Taoiseach, which is Prime Minister in English. So I was looking to see what was going on in India on that particular day, and that week actually there is a festival called the Kala Ghoda Festival in and around his birthplace, which is south of Mumbai. There was a black horse mentioned there, and that brought me to the black horse of the apocalypse. That particular horse is bringing famine and devastation over the world that has lived so selfishly for so many years and denied God and kept him out of the equation in their lives. So especially governments are dead hell-bent on getting God out of our lives. That's because they want to be God. But I had made that association, and it was really with amazement then that I connected some more dots to the present situation with this funny virus that is going around, the coronavirus. And not only that, I've read now the last couple of days that there are billions of locusts have descended upon Africa. And I suppose, you know what locusts do? Well, locusts appeared in the Old Testament as well. They were one of the 7 plagues. And of course they devastated everything, and they will be devastating everything because they're hungry little creatures, and they just eat and eat and eat and eat until the trees are bare, the crops are gone. Anything that was growing that they can eat, they will have devoured it. So that also means in the long term, or in the medium term, that country, the place they descended upon, is going to be in a state of famine. There's going to be food poverty, there's going to be devastation, really. They're going to have to start all over again. And not everything grows just when you require it to grow. It takes time again. So who's going to look after these people? So we've got the locusts wreaking havoc in Africa, and we've got the coronavirus appearing everywhere in every country. And I was asking myself, well, what significance has that? Of course, this is another population reduction. They will call it, they'll call it famine or something like that. So I started to dig out little background information on the town or the city of Wuhan, where this virus originates. And it says that it is considered as the political, economic, financial, commercial, cultural and educational centre of central China. It is a major transportation hub with dozens of railways, roads and expressways passing through the city and connecting to other major cities. Because of its key role in domestic transportation, Wuhan is sometimes referred to as the Chicago of China. So that's a huge, huge city and a hub of activity, but it is also where the foreign troops participate in China's military parades. And that occurred there not too long ago as well. So you got all these countries going to Wuhan with their troops and marching along the square with all the country's leaders then kind of clapping them on. And there seems to be great relations there with the Western countries. And I noticed that I watched one little clip of that, and I noticed that the leader of China was standing right beside Putin. We're kind of just within arm's length of one another, and there was more commentary on the Chinese and the Russian troops than there was on any of the others. So I'm going to leave that clip with you as well to watch. Why I mentioned bats in the title of this podcast, of course, has that reason as well, that they are saying that this disease, this virus, originated in a quarter where they were selling illegally bats and for bat soup. And the horrible thing is that, I don't know if you eat lobster or any of these dishes where you put the living creature in the water and it squeaks and then you enjoy it. But I don't, for that reason that they are cooked alive. But they cook these bats alive no more than they cook the dogs alive. Anything they eat, they just pop it into either oil or water boiling, of course, and with skin and all, and then they eat them. So it's no wonder really that there are diseases going around. But the interesting thing was that now Bill Gates has got involved, and he is talking about vaccines, of course. It was hardly a day in the news when this fellow came out with the vaccines. And it materialises that these vaccines have been produced, or patents for these vaccines have been discovered from about 2 years ago. So they were already patented and ready and waiting for the disease to materialise. So that's really interesting as well. And another YouTuber pointed out about what events, we should always look at what events took place shortly before a catastrophe, put it that way. She pointed out the event 201, and you can look that up for yourselves, event 201, where the Johns Hopkins Centre for Health Security, in partnership with the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, hosted event 201 on October the 18th, 2019 in New York. This event 201 is a high-level pandemic exercise. The exercise illustrated areas where public or private partnerships will be necessary during the response to a severe pandemic in order to diminish large-scale economic and societal consequences. Now, how about that? In recent years, I'm reading now from the website, in recent years, the world has seen a growing number of epidemic events, amounting to approximately 200 events annually. These events are increasing and they are disruptive to health, economics and society. Managing these events already strains global capacity, even absent a pandemic threat. Experts agree that it's only a matter of time before one of these epidemics becomes global, a pandemic with potentially catastrophic consequences. A severe pandemic, which becomes Event 201, would require reliable cooperation among several industries, national governments, and key international institutions. And if I went along digging out some more information, I would find more involvement of Bill and Melinda Gates, of vaccines, of premeditated pandemics, of events being triggered at a certain time in history for certain reasons. And since I did the research on the 222 thing and came up with famine, any epidemic or pandemic will bring famine with it. It will follow that there will be hunger, starvation, food will be sold out, the food won't be able to be delivered because there will be restrictions in place, there'll be martial law, there will be checkpoints and all these kind of things. So for that reason then there will and could be a famine. I also mentioned last time the website called Bagel, which predicts for some reason a huge population reduction by 2025. Now you might think that's a long way away, but now we've got 2020 and the days are flying. So by 2025 we have this huge population reduction. Even in Ireland it is predicted to be 1.5 million or something like that. So what does that say to me, this virus that has escaped, the warnings we are hearing, the dates that are chosen for certain things, they are telling me to be wide awake, to be prepared, keep plenty of water in the house, in drums or whatever you like. There's less danger in drinking saved water that has gone a little bit stale than there is drinking fresh water, or supposedly fresh water, if there is some kind of an epidemic or a pandemic. And do store up on some food, tins and cans and things that won't perish in the press, and you can renew them as time goes on, just to make sure you have enough food to tide you over for a while in your home, that you won't have to be going out for it. That's very important. Just before I put this online now, I'll read something for you that has appeared here on the Sun's website about this virus, spread of the deadly virus. Map reveals spread or killer bug. They say, we are accelerating our plans, it's the HSE, are accelerating our plans for dealing with the virus when it finally arrives here. The Department of Health confirmed it was trying to find as many passengers as we can who came to UK from Wuhan in the past 2 weeks to check on their well-being. The Department of Health confirmed it was trying to find as many passengers as we can who came to UK from Wuhan in the past 2 weeks to check out their well-being. It comes as passengers travelling from China to the UK were not screened last week when they arrived into London, sparking fears the deadly coronavirus could spread in Britain. Wuhan itself has been placed on lockdown Thursday as the Foreign Office has urged all Britons trapped in the city to leave if they are able to. That's not really prudent either, is it? And on Friday, experts, whoever these experts were, I don't know, experts warned Britain could be swarming with zombies infected by the deadly coronavirus infection without even knowing it. Professor Robert Dingwall, a public health expert at Nottingham Trent University, told The Sun online it would be impossible to know just how many people could be infected by the killer virus for 2 weeks. I mean, who is the expert who knows so much about this virus that they call the carriers of the virus zombies? For the moment, I shall love you and leave you, and with my usual greeting, which is look after yourselves and look out for one another.
Faith of our fathers, living still in spite of dungeon, fire, and sword. Oh, how our hearts beat high with joy whene'er we hear that glorious word. Faith of our fathers, holy faith, we will be true to thee till death. We will be true to thee till death. Our fathers chained in prisons dark were still in heart and conscience free, and blessed would be their children's faith if they, like them, should die for thee. Faith of our fathers, holy faith, we will be true to thee till death. We will be true to thee till death. Faith of our fathers, we will strive to win all nations unto thee, and through the truth that comes from God, mankind shall then indeed be